It was an ordinary morning, one that begins with the gentle sound of the coffee maker and the timid light entering through the curtains. My daughter Laura, just 8 years old, was in her room getting ready for school. I watched her from afar, smiling as she carefully chose her clothes, as if planning a great adventure. But that day, something different happened. She looked in the mirror with an expression I had never seen before. And then she said softly to herself, "I am ugly." That simple phrase hit me like a lightning bolt. How could such a young child have such a harsh perception of herself? Those words echoed within me, bringing to the surface memories of insecurities I had faced in my own childhood. Have you ever felt like that? Wondering how something so pure could be contaminated by such cruel thoughts? As I approached, I tried to swallow the wave of emotions that threatened to drown me. I asked Laura why she thought that. She looked at me, and in her eyes there was a mix of sadness and confusion. "The girls at school said that my hair is weird and that I am not pretty," she replied with a sincerity that broke my heart. A lot of people feel exactly that way at some point in their lives, don't they? The pressure to fit in, to be accepted, can be overwhelming, especially for a child. I knew I needed to find the right words, but for a moment I felt lost. How could I convince her otherwise when that negative image had already taken root in her mind? But there is one detail that changes everything. I realized it wasn't just about telling her she was beautiful. It was about making her feel loved and secure in who she was. So, I took a deep breath and kneeled beside her. "Laura," I began with a soft voice, "you know, the things people say sometimes aren't true. What matters is what's in here." I touched her heart, and here, I pointed to her head. She looked at me with curiosity, and I continued, "You are amazing just the way you are. Your hair, your smile, your ideas, all of that makes you a unique and special person. And did you know that each one of us has something different that makes us who we are? And this is where things get interesting." Laura, with her childlike wisdom, asked, "Did you feel like that when you were little?" The question disarmed me, and I decided to be vulnerable. I told her about my own insecurities when I was a child, how I felt about not having straight hair like the other girls, or not being as tall as I wanted to be. "But you know what?" I said to her. "Over time, I learned that true beauty comes from within, and that being different is what makes us special." Laura seemed to absorb my words, reflecting on them with a maturity I didn't expect. This point deserves our attention. The importance of creating an environment where children feel safe to share their insecurities and where they can learn to love themselves for who they are. That morning, as she left the room, Laura looked at herself in the mirror again, but this time there was a small smile on her face. "I think I like being different," she said, almost as a whisper of hope. I learned that sometimes the deepest lessons come from the simplest situations. And as I watched her walk with renewed confidence, I realized that true beauty lies in acceptance and self-love. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Want to see more real stories like this one? There's another one in the cards. That morning, while I was taking Laura to school, I couldn't help but think about how words have immense power. They can lift us up or bring us down, and it's essential to use them in a way that nurtures rather than hurt. In the car, the radio was playing soft music, but my mind was far away, lost in thoughts about how to help my daughter build solid self-esteem in a world that can often be cruel. We arrived at the school, and Laura got out of the car with a wave and a shy smile. I stayed there for a few seconds, watching her join her classmates in the yard. I noticed how she tried to blend in, but at the same time, she maintained her uniqueness. Have you ever thought about how small differences can become great strengths? It's worth reflecting on that. Later that same day, I decided to go beyond the conversation we had that morning. I looked for children's books that talked about acceptance and diversity, something that could help Laura see that being different is indeed a strength. I also thought about how important it would be to learn more about the influences she was receiving at school. I decided to schedule a meeting with the teacher to discuss the dynamics among the students. In the meeting, the teacher, Mrs. Marta, was understanding and open. She shared that, although they tried to promote an inclusive environment, children sometimes reproduce behaviors they see at home or in the media. "It's a constant challenge," she said, "but we are always looking for ways to improve." We discussed initiatives that could be introduced, like a day of differences, where each student could share something unique about themselves. Returning home, I thought about how I could implement these lessons in our daily family life. During dinner, I asked Laura and her older brother Lucas what they thought made them special. Lucas, always so confident, replied that he loved his abilities in math and how it made him feel smart. Laura, still a bit hesitant, said she liked drawing imaginary worlds. "This is amazing, Laura," I said. "Creating worlds is a wonderful gift. And you, Lucas, your talent with numbers will take you far." At that moment, I realized the importance of constantly reinforcing each person's value, not just through words, but also through actions and examples. In the days that followed, I started to notice small changes in Laura. She was more excited to go to school and began spending more time drawing, immersed in her own creative universes. As parents, we often underestimate the impact that small words of encouragement can have. And if you've experienced something similar, you know what I'm talking about. One afternoon, while we were preparing cookies in the kitchen, Laura surprised me with a question. "Mum, do you think the girls at school might like my drawings?" That curiosity was a sign that she was starting to value her own abilities. "I think they will love them," I replied, "but the most important thing is that you like what you do." During the process, I realized that I was also learning to listen more, to be present, and to value every small step Laura took towards a stronger self-esteem. It was a reminder that the role of a parent goes beyond providing. It's about nurturing and inspiring. A week later, the school organized the long-awaited Day of Differences. Laura was excited, bringing along a folder full of her drawings. That evening, she came home radiant, telling us how her classmates were impressed with her creations. "Mum, they said my world is magical," she exclaimed, her eyes shining with happiness. It was a moment of victory, not just for her, but for all of us. This experience made me realize that by helping Laura find her confidence, I was also rediscovering mine. The journey of self-discovery and acceptance is continuous, and often it is the children who teach us the most valuable lessons. As we sat down together for dinner, I looked around the table, feeling grateful for those moments of connection and growth. True beauty, after all, lies in accepting ourselves and others, celebrating each uniqueness that makes us who we are. So, I leave you with this thought. How can each one of us be a positive reflection in the lives of others? The answer might be simpler than we imagine. That night, as Laura slept, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. It was amazing how a simple conversation could trigger such an important transformation. I recalled my own childhood and how I wished I had someone to guide me during moments of doubt. And it was then that I realized that, no matter how much we try to protect our children, they will inevitably face challenges similar to ours, and it is up to us to equip them with the necessary tools to overcome them. Have you ever caught yourself thinking about how your childhood shaped who you are today? Often, it is these experiences that teach us the most important lessons. The next morning, as we had breakfast, I asked Laura if she would like to organize a small exhibition of her drawings at home. Her eyes lit up with the idea. "Can we invite Grandma and Grandpa?" she asked excitedly. "Of course," I replied, "and we can also invite some friends from school if you want." This initiative was not just about showcasing her talents, but also about creating a space where she could feel valued and appreciated. Throughout the week, Laura dedicated herself wholeheartedly to preparing the drawings she would exhibit. She spent hours in her room, concentrated and focused, while I watched with a mix of pride and admiration. And here's where things get interesting again. Laura started asking for my opinion on her works. "Mum, what do you think of this one?" she would ask, holding up a drawing full of vibrant colors. "It's wonderful, dear," I said. "You have an incredible talent for combining colors." This involvement made me realize that by feeling supported, Laura was allowing herself to explore her abilities without fear of judgment. And that's something many of us adults are still learning to do. It's worth reflecting on how we can create environments that encourage this creative freedom, not only for children, but for ourselves as well. On the day of the exhibition, our house was filled with laughter and lively conversations. Laura was radiant, guiding visitors through her little personal gallery. Her grandparents, friends, and even some teachers came to honor her. It was as if, at that moment, each drawing told a part of her story, and she was proud to share it. As I watched her, I couldn't help but feel deeply grateful to be able to experience these moments with her. "Are you seeing this?" I asked my husband, who was beside me. He nodded with a smile, visibly moved. "She is blossoming," he said, and I couldn't agree more. After everyone left, Laura came to me with a tight hug. "Thank you, Mum, for believing in me," she said, with a sincerity that moved me. "Always, my love," I replied. "I will always be here to support you." In the days that followed, I noticed changes not only in Laura but in our family dynamics as a whole. There was a lightness in the air, a renewed sense of unity and purpose. Lucas, for example, began to show more interest in his sister's activities, offering to help her with the drawings, or simply sitting by her side while she created. This experience made me understand that, often, the answers to our challenges lie in the simplest and most sincere interactions. If you have experienced something similar, you know how powerful it is to see someone you love find their way and blossom. As time passed, I continued to seek ways to support not only Laura, but also Lucas and my husband in their own journeys of self-discovery. I realized that by nurturing their passions and interests, we were all learning to value our differences and find beauty in each other's uniqueness. One evening, while Laura and Lucas were playing together in the living room, my husband and I talked about the impact of that small event on our family. "It was a brilliant idea," he said, referring to Laura's display. "You really have a gift for creating meaningful moments." With a smile, I reflected on how often we underestimate the power of small actions. The beauty of life lies in these shared experiences, the stories we tell, and the connections we form along the way. And this story, which began with a moment of doubt, turned into a journey of self-discovery and growth for both Laura and me. And so I leave you with one last thought. How can we continue to foster spaces of acceptance and love in our lives? Perhaps the answer lies in the small daily choices we make, the words of encouragement we offer, and the moments of true presence we share. The journey continues, and it is up to each of us to decide how we want to walk it. The next morning, while we were having breakfast, I noticed something different in Laura. There was a sparkle in her eyes, a renewed confidence that seemed to have found a permanent home in her heart. I asked if she was excited for school, and she responded enthusiastically, telling me about a new art project her teacher had mentioned. It was comforting to see how small changes could have such a big impact. While taking her to school, I couldn't help but feel grateful to be present in these crucial moments. Have you ever wondered how small decisions can change the course of a life? Every choice we make has the power to influence not only our path, but also that of those we love. Later that day, while I was at work, I received a message from Laura's teacher. She told me that Laura had shared her drawings with the class and that the children were delighted. "She's inspiring others to be more open about their own passions," wrote the teacher. I was moved when I read those words, realizing that Laura was not only expressing herself, but also becoming a little leader among her peers. At the end of the day, when we were back home together, I wanted to know more about Laura's experience. During dinner, I asked how it had been to share her drawings with her friends. "It was amazing, Mum," she replied. "They were so curious and asked lots of questions. I felt special." These moments of sharing remind us how mutual acceptance can create strong and lasting bonds. Laura was learning that by showing her true self, she not only felt happier, but also inspired others to do the same. That night, as Laura was getting ready for bed, she called me into her room. "Mum, can I show you a new drawing?" she asked. As I approached, I saw that she had drawn a scene of our family in a park, with everyone smiling and playing together. "I want to put this in our living room," she said with a smile. That drawing, with its vibrant colors and loving details, was more than just a piece of art. It was a reflection of our journey together, of how we had grown and transformed over the weeks. And then I found myself thinking about how these moments of vulnerability and shared growth strengthen our bonds. In the days that followed, Laura continued to explore her passions with renewed vigor. She began to participate in an art club at school and even volunteered to help organize a small exhibition of her classmates' works. Her confidence was spreading, and it was wonderful to witness how she was becoming a positive force in the lives of others. Simultaneously, I began to wonder how I could apply these lessons of acceptance and self-appreciation to other areas of my own life. I reflected on how often we are hard on ourselves, forgetting to value our own uniqueness. Perhaps I thought it was time to allow myself to blossom as well, just as Laura was doing. One afternoon, while we were strolling in the park, Laura and I talked about dreams and aspirations. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I asked, curious. "I don't know yet," she replied, "but I think I want to do something that brings happiness to people." Her words touched me deeply, reminding me of how the simplicity of children's desires can be so powerful. That night, I shared with my husband the idea of doing something together that would challenge us and allow us to grow as a family. "What if we started a project together?" I suggested. "Something that motivates us to explore new horizons and discover more about ourselves." He agreed enthusiastically, and we began to discuss possibilities. We could start a community garden where Laura and Lucas could learn about nature and the value of teamwork. Or perhaps we could organize small cultural events in our neighborhood, promoting art and diversity. These ideas excited us, and we began to plan the next steps. I realized that this journey of self-discovery and acceptance was leading us down new paths, opening doors to experiences we had never considered before. As I reflected on all this, I realized that true beauty is in being present, in actively being part of the lives of those we love. Each moment of connection, each shared smile, strengthens the bonds that unite us and helps us grow together. And so, as we continue to explore this path of self-discovery, I promised myself that I would always be open to new opportunities for learning and growth. After all, life is a continuous journey of self-discovery, and it is up to each of us to decide how we want to walk it. And you, how are you cultivating your own spaces of acceptance and love? It is worth reflecting on this, as each step taken towards self-knowledge brings us closer to a fuller and more meaningful life. The next morning, as the sun timidly rose on the horizon, I felt a new sense of purpose. It was as if each dawn brought with it the chance to start over, to create new memories and strengthen old ones. As I prepared breakfast, I thought about the importance of creating an environment where everyone could express their ideas freely, without fear of judgment. "What can we do today that's special?" I asked Laura and Lucas, hoping that their young, creative minds would surprise me. Lucas, with his characteristic enthusiasm, suggested an afternoon of family games, while Laura, still immersed in her artistic world, wanted us to paint together. "We can paint a mural in the backyard," she proposed, her eyes shining with the idea of creating something lasting. The suggestion was enthusiastically received by all of us, and we spent the morning planning what our family project would look like. While we were discussing, I realized that these moments of collaboration not only brought us closer, but also taught us to value each other's unique perspectives. It's interesting how sometimes the simplest ideas have the potential to bring about great transformations. Have you ever thought about that? How small gestures can multiply and create a lasting impact? After breakfast, we headed to the backyard armed with brushes, paints, and a blank wall canvas. We weren't professional artists, but that didn't matter. The joy was in being together, in each brushstroke that narrated a part of our story. Laura started drawing colorful flowers, while Lucas created geometric shapes that intertwined in intriguing patterns. My husband and I added touches of nature, with trees and birds symbolizing growth and freedom. As we worked, we talked about our hopes and dreams, about what each of us desired for the future. It was an exercise in vulnerability that allowed us to share more than just words, but feelings and aspirations. These conversations created a space of acceptance, where each of us could be truly authentic. By the end of the afternoon, our mural was complete. It was a fusion of colors and shapes that reflected the uniqueness of our family, a work that told our story of love, resilience, and growth. As we stepped back to admire our work, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. It was more than just art. It was a symbol of our journey together. In the following days, I noticed how that experience had impacted us. Laura and Lucas were more connected, collaborating on new projects and supporting each other. My husband and I also found new ways to support each other, exploring interests together that we hadn't considered before. This continuous journey of self-discovery and acceptance has made me reflect on the importance of being present and creating meaningful moments that strengthen family bonds. How can we, amid the hustle and bustle of daily life, ensure that we are truly listening and valuing each other? It's worth reflecting on this. On a quiet night, while we were gazing at the stars, Laura snuggled up next to me and asked, "Mum, do you think we can paint another mural someday?" I smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude. "Of course, dear," I replied whenever we would want to tell a new story. It was comforting to know that we were building a solid foundation of love and acceptance that would allow them to face any challenge life might present. And so, we continued to tread our path, one day at a time, with the certainty that we were creating memories that would last forever. Our mural in the backyard became a constant reminder that, together, we could overcome any obstacle and turn our differences into strengths. As time went by, I realized that this experience had planted a seed of change, not only in our family, but also in our community. Other parents began to approach us, curious about how we had managed to create such a positive and welcoming environment. I shared our experiences, highlighting the importance of listening, being present, and valuing the uniqueness of each family member. These conversations led to the creation of a community group where parents and children could gather to share stories, ideas, and creative projects. It was amazing to see how, by connecting, families found new ways to support and grow together. And this is where things get even more interesting. I realized that by opening our hearts and sharing our experiences, we were inspiring others to do the same. This journey not only transformed us, but also showed us that love and acceptance are powerful forces that can change the world around us. And as we continue to explore new paths together, I know that every choice we make, every word of encouragement we offer, contributes to a brighter future full of possibilities. And you, have you thought about how you can create more meaningful moments in your life? Maybe the answer lies in simply being present, valuing every small difference, and finding beauty in the imperfections that make us unique. That same week, we decided to organize the first meeting of our community group. It was a sunny Saturday, ideal for gathering families and creating a space for sharing and connection. We chose the local park as the setting, a place where everyone would feel comfortable exploring their ideas and expressing their emotions. As we prepared for the event, Laura and Lucas were excited, helping with every detail, from selecting the music to organizing the activities. When the families began to arrive, I felt a wave of excitement and anticipation in the air. The children ran freely, their laughter echoing like a symphony of joy. The adults gathered in small groups, sharing experiences and discovering common interests. It was a vibrant environment where each person could be who they truly were, without masks or judgments. Have you ever been in a place like that, where acceptance was palpable and connection genuine? One of the activities we planned was a stories around the campfire session. Although there was no real campfire, the idea was to create a circle where everyone could share their personal stories, inspiring each other with their unique journeys. Laura was the first to raise her hand, eager to share her experience with the art exhibit. She spoke confidently, her eyes shining with enthusiasm as she described how that event helped her find her voice. Gradually, other children and adults joined in, each offering a piece of themselves. There were stories of overcoming, dreams fulfilled, and challenges faced with courage. Many people feel exactly this at some point in their lives, the need to be heard and validated. It was a powerful reminder that, even in our differences, there is always something that unites us. As the sun began to set, the conversations turned into plans for the future. We decided that this meeting would not be a one-time event, but the start of a series of community gatherings. We could organize art workshops, reading sessions, or even family hikes, suggested one parent, his enthusiasm contagious. The potential was infinite, and everyone was excited to contribute ideas and energy. At the end of the day, as we were putting away the last chairs and tables, Laura came up to me, holding my hand with a satisfied smile. "Mum, it was amazing, wasn't it?" she asked, her voice full of gratitude. "Yes, dear, it was more than amazing," I replied, feeling equally grateful to be part of something so meaningful. In the days that followed, we began to see the fruits of that meeting. The children forged new friendships, the adults found support in their journeys, and the community as a whole was strengthened. It was inspiring to see how a simple initiative could have such a profound impact. And this is where things get interesting. The idea that by coming together, we can create lasting changes not only in our lives, but also in the world around us. However, this experience also made me reflect on the importance of continuing to nurture and expand these bonds. After all, the journey of acceptance and growth is continuous and requires dedication and commitment. How can we ensure that these connections remain strong and meaningful over time? This point deserves our attention. One night, while reviewing the event photos, my husband suggested that we create an online platform where families could continue to interact, share ideas, and plan the next gatherings. It was a way to keep the flame alive even when we couldn't meet physically. The idea was well received by everyone, and soon we were working together to make that virtual space a reality. As the weeks passed, the platform became a vibrant meeting point where families could exchange tips, organize activities, and celebrate their achievements. It was wonderful to see how the community continued to grow and flourish, driven by a common desire for acceptance and growth. And that mural in the backyard, which started as a simple family project, now symbolized something much greater: the beauty of a community united by bonds of love and mutual respect. As I reflected on all this, I realized that this journey of self-discovery and acceptance was not just a story of personal transformation, but also a powerful lesson about the power of community. And so I leave you with one final reflection. How can we continue to cultivate spaces of acceptance and love, both in our personal lives and in our communities? Perhaps the answer lies in every small gesture of kindness, in every word of encouragement, and in every act of true presence. After all, it is through these actions that we create a world where everyone can flourish. As the online platform came to life, I began to realize how small actions can create waves of change. Laura, inspired by what we experienced, decided to start a small art club at school. With the support of the teacher, she invited classmates to join her on Friday afternoons, transforming the classroom into a vibrant studio. "Mom, I think everyone has something special to share," she told me one day, her face lit up with excitement. And it's true, isn't it? We all have something unique that we can bring to the world. This realization led me to reflect on how often we underestimate our power to positively influence the lives of others. Have you ever thought about how your contribution, no matter how small, could be the spark someone needs to move forward? As the art club meetings became more frequent, I began to receive messages from other parents expressing gratitude for what Laura had started. Their children were more engaged, expressive, and confident. Many people feel exactly that, an indescribable joy in seeing their children thrive in a welcoming and inspiring environment. It was as if, together, we were building a legacy of acceptance and creativity for future generations. At home, the positive influence spread. Lucas, always observant, decided to create his own project. A science club where he and his friends could explore experiments and mathematical challenges. "I want to show that science can be fun too," he explained, his passion evident in every word, and I had no doubt that he would succeed. These initiatives by my children made me reflect on how creating safe and encouraging spaces can cultivate talents and skills that might otherwise remain dormant. It's worth considering how each of us can be a catalyst for the growth of others. In the following months, our community continued to expand and strengthen. The in-person meetings became regular events, each with a different theme and activities that encouraged everyone's participation. It was inspiring to see how families were connecting, creating lasting bonds, and sharing experiences that enriched their lives. One day, during one of these events, a mother approached me, emotional. "Thank you for paving this path," she said, her eyes filled with gratitude. "My daughter found a place where she can be herself, and that is priceless." Her words touched my heart, reminding me that, often, change begins with a simple act of courage and openness. As I reflected on the impact we were having, I realized that this journey of acceptance and growth was not just about our children, but also about us parents. We were learning to accept ourselves, to recognize our own vulnerabilities, and to find strength in our authenticity. Have you ever thought about how by supporting others, we also transform ourselves? One evening, as the family gathered in the living room to watch a movie, Laura snuggled up next to me. "Mum, do you think we can do something special for the next community gathering?" she asked, her mind already bubbling with ideas. "Sure, dear," I replied, feeling excited about the prospect of another adventure together. We decided to organize a talent night where everyone, children and adults, could showcase their skills and passions. It would be a celebration of diversity and creativity, a space where each one could shine in their own way. Lucas was already planning a scientific experiment to present, while Laura was preparing a new series of drawings. In the days leading up to the event, the house was filled with anticipation and preparation. Rehearsals, discussions about costumes and decorations. Everything contributed to creating an atmosphere of joy and collaboration. And when the night finally arrived, the space was vibrant, full of energy and enthusiasm. The talent show was an absolute success. The children danced, sang, recited poetry, and showcased their inventions, while the adults came together in a spirit of support and celebration. It was as if, for a few moments, hours, everyone had set aside their worries and surrendered to the magic of the moment. As I watched all this, I felt deeply grateful to be part of such a special community. And then I found myself thinking about how we can continue to cultivate this energy, not just at events, but in our daily lives. How can we ensure that this acceptance and love become an integral part of our lives? This point deserves our attention. By the end of the night, as we gathered the last chairs, Laura and Lucas were exhausted, but happy. "It was amazing, Mum," they said almost in unison, their faces reflecting the satisfaction of having contributed to something so meaningful. And so we continued our journey together, knowing that each step brought us closer to a brighter future full of possibilities. The true beauty, after all, lies in finding strength in collectivity, in seeing how our differences enrich us and help us flourish. And have you found beauty in any difference recently? As I thought about this, I realized that in each encounter, in each project we carried out, we were not only building a community, but we were also building ourselves. It was as if each interaction helped us understand a little more about who we were and who we wanted to be. The morning after the talent show, while we were having breakfast, Lucas suggested we make a time capsule. "We can put things that represent who we are now and bury it in the backyard," he said, his face lit up by the idea. Laura loved the suggestion and started thinking about what she would like to include. "Maybe one of my drawings," she pondered. This idea of encapsulating a moment in time made me reflect on how we often don't realize the importance of the present until it becomes the past. Have you ever stopped to think about how the little things of today could become valuable memories tomorrow? As we discussed what to put in the capsule, I realized we were in fact creating a legacy, something that would represent our journey and our evolution as a family. We spent the weekend gathering items that each of us considered special. Lucas chose one of his science projects, while my husband and I decided to include a letter about our hopes for the future. Laura, true to her artistic spirit, chose a set of watercolors along with a message about the importance of creativity in her life. When it was time to bury the capsule, we gathered everyone in the backyard. There was a silent ceremony in our actions, an unspoken understanding that we were marking an important moment in our lives. As we placed the capsule in the ground, I felt a wave of gratitude for everything we had built together, for every challenge overcome and every victory celebrated. In the days that followed, the idea of creating a legacy took root more deeply within our family. We began thinking of ways to leave a positive mark, not just on our community, but also on the world. What can we do to help others? Laura asked one evening while we looked at the stars. Her question made me reflect on the impact each of us can have, even with small actions. We decided to get involved in a local volunteer project, helping to organize activities for children in vulnerable situations. It was an opportunity to share what we had learned, to take the message of acceptance and self-worth beyond the walls of our home. The experience was transformative, not just for the children we met, but also for us. We learned that by giving, we often receive much more in return. While we were preparing for yet another community meeting, I noticed how Laura and Lucas had grown in recent months. They were more confident, more self-assured, and more aware of their abilities. This transformation was not something that could be measured in words, but it was visible in every gesture, in every smile, and in the way they interacted with the world around them. And so we continued our journey, knowing that true beauty lies in accepting our differences and using them as strengths to build a better world. A world where each of us can flourish and find our place, where the stories we tell and the memories we create connect us in deep and lasting ways. So, as we watched the sun set, we promised ourselves that we would continue to walk this path of love and acceptance, always open to new experiences and ready to embrace whatever the future might bring us. After all, life is a continuous journey of discovery, and each day is a new opportunity to grow and learn. And you, how are you creating your legacy? This is a question that deserves reflection, because every choice we make, every word we speak, and every action we take has the power to shape the world around us. May we always choose wisely. Before you leave, do 2 things now. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive upcoming messages. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. To continue, watch the next video. It's already in the cards and also in the description.